is to change the way the world does business, and in so doing, we want to restore trust in financial services, so we're not messing around. Let's get straight to it. Banks want to be compliant, and I'm using banks, but it could be any financial institution. They want to be compliant because that's how they make lots of money. The difficulty is it costs them a lot of money, and it's a really complex area, and they don't do it very well. In fact, they do it so poorly, they've been fined almost 30 billion in the last decade. And this is despite the fact they spend a lot of money on it. JP Morgan spend $1.3 billion on compliance before they open their doors every year. Huge, huge sums. Our technology solves this at scale. Our initial product, Robolytics, comes out of a global product search for a tier 1 institution. They were feeling the pain. They asked us to go and find somewhere in the world some technology that would take care of this. We scoured the world, and it didn't exist or it didn't do the job properly. So we built it. That technology for the last 2 years has been monitoring 15% of the world's global FX transactions. So in real time, so it works. Second product is DocStore. That came out of the difficulties that banks and institutions have with knowing your clients and onboarding. I'll call that KYC in future. And that's also triggered us into a very interesting consumer app I'll talk about later. Between those two, we've got the opportunity to create an anti-fraud ecosystem because we are the only end-to-end solution in the market. We go all the way from inside the bowels of the bank all the way into the consumer's wallet or their phone, because it's the same thing nowadays. So why is compliance so expensive? It is like looking for a needle in a haystack. 98% false positives popping up. And so what banks do is they hire more and more and more and more compliance officers, expensive compliance officers. That is a very 19th century solution to a 21st century problem. There are computers that can do this, and there's new technology can do this. So here we go with the bingo. So it's artificial intelligence, it's neural networks, machine learning, all that stuff you can throw at it, and that takes your cost down by typically 50%. So we have a high-speed data analytics platform with all those technologies sitting inside it. It sits over the current systems. It takes the current data that's sitting there, both the numeric data and the stuff that really tickles the compliance officers, the texts and SMSs and all the rest, pulls all that up, and we run tunable algorithms over the top of that. We send robots to catch algorithms. Here's the architecture. I won't spend an hour and a half going through this, but you can see it's very sophisticated, it's very robust, it's very deep. We've been developing it for 4 years now. The key outputs from that and from the use of that technology are that we filter out those false positives. So we find the bad guys faster. Crucially, for the efficiency, we then give the compliance officer much better tools to progress that case review and get to the conclusion much faster. We've got about 20 clients at the moment. Most of them take most of our products. These range from tier 1 financial institutions. The one we're working with closely at the moment, SPD, that's Shanghai Pudong Development Bank, 5th largest bank in China. We're installing our full suite in London, and it looks good for them to take that back to China, which was a big step up for us. On the far right-hand side, you'll see that we've got starting to attract partners who are building products to sit on top of the platform. So again, we should always apologize. Sorry, it's Grant Thornton, but it could be PwC. On the far end, you'll see it gets quite congested in this space around onboarding and KYC. It gets congested because that's another headache for banks. Typical banks spending about 40 million a year on this. And it's back to this problem of poor quality data and input. So we thought, well, the way that EasyJet got around that problem for boarding passes by making the consumer print them out and take responsibility for the accuracy of that, can we do the same thing? So we created an app called DocStore. It is in the Apple Store and the Google Store. You can download it, it's free, get your phones out and go and do that. What that does is when you need to get your compliance document, your passport, you take a photograph of it. It's all machine read and tidily stored. It is then encrypted using blockchain technology on the phone and only on the phone. It's not on our server, it's not in the cloud, and that virtually eliminates the risk of hacking. That's the honeypot issue. For banks and institutions, that integrates seamlessly with Robolytics, and we think it's quite a sexy consumer app, so we can start developing that. But that's really only half the prize, because when you start to look at what we really could do with these products, is attack this market. $300 billion a year is the global cost. Now, $100 billion, that is just in the G7. Almost 17 million people last year in the States from the victims of identity fraud, 2 million in the UK. And most of those are our beloved millennials. because they spend their time online, they live their lives online. And it's also, that's where they're going to go for a solution, through an app. The prize really is this ecosystem where we can sit at the heart of that with our products, because if you don't have your identity sorted, if you can't prove that you are you, then you can't play in this new economy that we're building. The team, we've got a few grey hairs and a few youngsters. We're 25, we're split between London and Barcelona, where our development team is, and an office in New York. We've built businesses, we're rooted in tech and finance. We've raised $2.5 million US on a security token offering for those of their cryptocurrencies, and we're about to start work on the next 12.5 million. That's enabling us to start to scale up rapidly. We're growing our sales, we're looking to build partnerships, perhaps with some of you in the room. We're looking to build out Docstore as a consumer proposition, and we want to create that global anti-fraud ecosystem. Thank you.